Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bia, and today we are going to be talking about some tips and advice for moving to LA. Now, if you are already subscribed to my channel, you'll see that I had about three little mini series of me and my friend apartment hunting in LA. I will link those 3 videos in the description box if you want to go check them out. And in those videos, we kind of talked about, well, there wasn't really much talking. It was more of just like me showing the apartments, what they cost, the area that they were in. So I thought I would do a more sit-down video and talk about some of the things that we learned and give you guys some advice if you're also thinking about moving to LA and looking for apartments there. So the first thing that I'll just kind of like, I guess disclaimer is, if you watch those videos and you're wondering what apartment that we chose, we didn't choose any of those apartments. The timing didn't work out, and we just thought it would be more wise to save up some more money and just go at a different time. So those apartments that you saw on those other videos, we didn't see. I mean, we didn't get. And yeah, if you also are subscribed to my channel, you'll see that I just posted a video called my Cleveland Diaries. So you're probably wondering, like, does she live in LA? Where is she at? I currently live in Cleveland, Ohio, and I plan on moving to LA in the future. So that's where that is. Yeah, let's just get right into it. I wrote some things down to keep my mind fresh, and yeah, so the first thing that I kind of want to, you need to know your intentions. You need to know, like, why you want to go there. What's the reason you want to go there? I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people go there with intentions that, like, moving to LA is gonna, like, change your life and make your life so much better, and I'll see all these famous people, I'll get notoriety, I'll be able to network. And if that is your intention, may I just stop you there and say, maybe this isn't the right time for you to move to LA, because I think if there's things that are going on in your life already that you are unhappy with, moving to another place isn't going to change that, because those things are still going to be inside of you. You're just moving location. So I encourage people who are, maybe, because I've done that, and moving to a new place with the same problems doesn't change your problem. So that's what I want to start off with first. And I know some people will be like, whatever, but, like, really just know your intentions, know your why, have a why. If you want to move to LA, and really moving anywhere, have a why. LA is a place where it's very, like, LA is a different world. It's a different planet. So you have to know who you are, and you have to be strong with what you believe if you're gonna live there, because that place can really change you for the worst, for better or for worse. It can really mold you. If you don't know who you are, that place will it can tell you who you are. So that's my first thing. And now we'll just jump into, I guess, more practical things. So yeah, the second thing would be, do you know what you want to, like, where you want to live? Do you want to live with roommates? Are you gonna live with one roommate? Do you want to live by yourself? I think knowing that going into it can kind of, like, alleviate a lot of stress. Like, do you want to get a house and have, like, 4 roommates? Do you want to just have one roommate? And knowing what you want to do before going into it, you can kind of, like, also, like, set yourself a budget. LA is very expensive. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's so expensive. And I think, having a roommate obviously would make things significantly cheaper. Not everybody has that luxury to, like, have, friends when they move out there. So people just move out there by themselves. But I think if you have those options, like, if you have the option to live with somebody, definitely take that. Like, if it's somebody that you trust and somebody that you would like to live with, do that. Prices. I guess it's kind of, like, leads into it. Prices. Like, if you go watch my other videos, me and my friend were looking at 2-bedroom apartments, and they were all over $2,000. Like, I think there's maybe one of them that we looked at that was, like, 19, and it was Sketch City. So just know that if you are living with like 2 people, just like you and somebody else, you're probably gonna be paying over $2,000. And I guess that's relative, because you can find places that aren't that much, but you're gonna be sacrificing something, whether it's safety, whether it's cleanliness. There's always gonna be a sacrifice with the price. But I think that was kind of like a shocker for me when I first went into it, like $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. Like where I live now, you can get a 2-bedroom apartment for like $800. So it's kind of crazy. Thing is parking. If you are moving to LA with a car, or you plan on buying a car when you go to LA, you want to make sure that the apartments that you're looking at has parking. Now some of the apartments, they will it's an additional fee to have like a covered parking spot or an assigned parking spot. So you always want to make sure that you look in the details of, like, you know, where you're looking at your apartment. Is it an additional fee? Sometimes it's already added up into the rent, but you want to make sure you have parking. You do not want to rely on street parking. We went there and we like got a rental car, so we were just able to just drive around and kind of get the feel for the city. And street parking is hell. Street parking is an actual disaster. I don't know how people actually do it. I don't know how people, like, there's no room. LA is so populated. You can't rely on street parking. So I encourage you to always make sure wherever apartment that you're looking at, like that was one of our real deal breakers. If it didn't have like a garage or an assigned parking, then it was out of the game, because we weren't gonna try to like rely on street parking, especially after we saw how difficult it was to find street parking. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is, when you go to look at your apartments, speaking of like parking, a lot of places will have what is called tandem parking. Now before we went and looked at apartments in LA, I had no idea what that meant. I thought tandem was like French for 2. I have no idea. So what tandem parking is essentially it's 2 parking spaces that they are like this. So there are 2 parking spaces and one car is always blocking the other car from getting out. So if, say this is my car and this is my roommate's car, and I want to get out. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm doing this right. Yeah, so it's just like a car here and a car here. So if I want to get out, my roommate has to move their car. So that can become a problem if, like, it just means that you have to coordinate, you know, your schedule with your roommate. Who's leaving first? Who needs to leave then? Who needs to leave now? And that can become a problem if, you know, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, somebody else has to move their car to let the other person out. So that's what tandem parking means. Essentially, like, one car is always trapped by the other car, if that makes sense. I think that maybe helps it more. But yeah, a lot of the places have, like, a lot of the 2 bedrooms that we were looking at had tandem parking. And that's something that, like, I learned while I was there, which is cool. Another thing, which is like so random, and like I literally didn't know this even existed, is a lot of the places that we looked at don't have fridges. Like, didn't come, like we would go and like where the fridge would be, it would be empty. And I'm like, what's happening here? So a lot of the places in California will require you to buy your own fridge, or you can rent for an additional fee, like $20, $30, $50 a month. You can rent a fridge from them. And not to get into this, but like we're gonna get into it. I just like was absolutely shocked by that. Like, it must be like a West Coast thing. I have no idea. But like, to me, not having a fridge is like the equivalent to like not having like a shower. Like, how are you gonna tell me to go buy a shower? Like, that's an essential part. I'm paying $2,000 for this apartment and you can't provide a fridge for me? To me, that's like an essential part of living. Like, I think that's crazy, but keep that in mind if you go to look at apartments and there's no fridge. It's not because they're renovating. It's because you've got to buy your own. So always inquire about that. If you don't see a fridge at the apartment you're looking at, say, hey, do I have to buy one? Can I rent one? What's the deal with that? The next thing is traffic, folks. Traffic in LA is absolutely absurd, and we learned that because we were just like driving around, you know, going to different you know, places and apartments to look at, and like there were times where like we only had to drive 2 or 3 miles and it would take like 45 minutes. Like 45 minutes to drive 2 or 3 miles. And it all just depends on like the time and where you're at. So like, for example, if you were to leave somewhere at like 7 in the morning, it could take you 30 minutes. But then if you were to leave at 5, if you were to go to that same place at 5 p.m., it could take you an hour and a half. So it just depends on the time and where you are. But what I'll say to that in terms of like finding an apartment from moving, because then you can like, you can base kind of, if you do have a job before you move, I would say look at apartments located near your job. If you don't have a job before you move, I would say the places that you go, like Culver City, Delray, Los Feliz, wherever you go, make sure that they have places where you can work that are close by. Like if that makes sense, like pick an apartment where there are places that you can work, like coffee shops, whole grocery stores, wherever that you're gonna work. Because if you pick an apartment and you move there and then the place that you work is like 40 minutes away, you're gonna be driving over an hour just to get there and then an hour back at least. So I just think that your job should be should be as close as you can get it to where you live, so that you're not commuting like for hours every day. So just keep that in mind. Try to look for places, like we looked at a lot of places where it's like Culver City is really nice because it's kind of like there's like downtown Culver City, obviously there's like bougie apartments, but if you just go a little bit on the outskirts of Culver City, you can find some nice apartments. And then like downtown Culver City has so many places to work, like coffee shops, restaurants, like gyms, stuff like that. So yeah, just always be aware of like, okay, is there places I can work here? Is there places I can live here? Because that can be a problem. The next thing is safety. Safety. And I wanna say this not to scare people, and not to put fear into people, but I think it is important to know that LA and California in general is very dangerous. It is a very dangerous city, especially if you are a young woman, a woman in general, a single woman. And I think a lot of times people will put safety before, like they'll put that last and they'll think about everything else. Like, oh, I want more cheap rent, I want this and that and that. And then when they get there, they realize, oh, this isn't that safe. So I would just say, just to always be aware of your surroundings. When you're going and looking at these apartments, look at the streets. Are there people walking down the streets? Are there families walking down the streets? Is it sketch city? Do you see people lurking? Like, always be aware of what that would be like when you're alone there. And if you're spending, like, because me and my friend, we went there for a week, so we just were able to drive around. If you're able to, if you see an apartment that you really like, drive around that apartment at nighttime. See what that's like. See what it's gonna be like when you have to like walk into your apartment at nighttime. Are you gonna be scared? Is it gonna be sketchy? Are there people? Is it close to places that could be dangerous? Always just keep your eyes out. One of the realtors that we saw, he gave us like a really good piece of advice. He said when you're comfortable, when you're the most comfortable is when you are the most at opportunity for something dangerous to happen. When you're so comfortable that you're not so aware of your surroundings, that you're not, checking to see if something's following you, you're just like chilling, that's when bad things happen. So just always be aware of your surroundings. Don't live with a spirit of fear, but just be smart. LA is very dangerous. Just be smart. Another little side note is when you're looking at apartments, always make sure that you look like closely at the floors. Look closely at the floors for like bugs, rat poop. If you watched the videos of us looking for apartments, on the first video we found like there was like a roach on the floor, and in the second place we looked at there were termites. So always look closely on the floors, check the cupboards, check areas where bugs could be, because if bugs are in an empty apartment where there's like no food and like no trash, imagine what is imagine like how many bugs are going to be there when somebody actually does move in. So yeah, always keep that in mind. Another thing, like a tricky little thing my uncle told me is like, if you know how you'll go to apartments and you'll see like bars on the window, like on the outside of the window, that is usually an indicator that like they put bars on the window to keep people from breaking the window, essentially from breaking in. So we definitely saw a couple places where like there were bars on the window, and that was kind of like, okay, like why do you need to put bars on the window? Like people trying to break in. So keep that in mind. What else? The gist of really what I wanted to talk about in this video. And yeah, at the end of the day, just really just know your why for moving out there. Know that it's probably gonna be different than you expected, because visiting a place and living in a place is very different. But yeah, I hope this video helped you. Subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Stay tuned to see when I do end up moving out there. That'll be really fun to record and make some fun vlogs of. Yeah, and a great day or night, and